All right, y'all. Let's get things started, shall we? It's Monday. Just settling in for the new week. All right. Let's get things started. 81 degrees out here in New York City, coming to you live from Queens, New York. It's the Morning After live stream, coming to you straight up of your monkey's butt. What the hell am I talking about? I don't even know anymore. What's up, everybody? It's hot. It's Monday. And I am here to hang out and chill with all of you fine folks and talk about some nonsense and movies and all that good stuff. Also, as of the hitting of this button, I am now also officially live on YouTube Shorts. So as always, with every stream, you have two options. If you like the traditional type of video, horizontal view, you have it here available for you right now on the channel. But if you prefer watching things on your phone on vertical, like Instagram and TikTok and all that good stuff, you can do so as well. We have both streams going on live at the same time. And I am monitoring all chats there. So I see we already have Scorched You. What's going on, Scorched? Nice to see you here.
Siggy Skier.
I know it's... Whoa, what is that?
Less sugar.
What's playing?
Sets you free.
Oh my goodness.
I chose Wix for my business.
Is it Jesus?
Massive scope
What's happening
for
here?
functionality and
Who's talking?
freedom of creation. Being able to integrate and change and develop.
Where is that coming from?
I offer a range of products and services.
Hold
to
on.
manage it all from one place is essential.
My goodness. I'm getting ads in my ears. That's it. AI knows. That's the future of advertising. They're going to pipe it right into your ears so that you can't avoid it. Can't avoid it. But anyway, we got Scorched You. Thank you for hanging out, even though it's past midnight where you are. We got Suck saying he hacked me. Now we know who the culprit is. How dare you? How dare you do that? I have a spider that's hanging out over here by me. Now, spiders are usually good for you. But if you don't know anything about me, I do suffer a little bit from arachnophobia, which is a real thing. So I definitely have a fear of spiders. So even though I try to let them live, if you get too close, man, game over. Game over. Star-Lord is also in the house. So we got a good amount of people here watching on a Monday afternoon. Well, Monday afternoon where I am. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to where all of you guys are. Scorch saying his dad. Scorch, I don't know if you're he or she, but your dad has a fear of spiders as well. Did I ever eat a spider? No, I have not, nor would I ever want to be honest with you. I'm adventurous when it comes to food, but when it comes to insects, but then again, what is it that they say? That in any bar of chocolate, there's a possibility of you eating insect larvae and eggs and remnant. Isn't that right? Isn't that what they say these days? Or as fact? I don't know how true it is, but I could see that happening. But no, I would not. Have you? Have you ever eaten a spider? Now, who knows? I may have eaten a spider when I was sleeping. That's a very, big possibility. But no, I would never purposely and willingly eat an insect, even if it's chocolate covered or all that stuff. I just find that to be a little bit too much for me, a little bit too much for my blood. If you understand where I'm coming from here. How's everyone doing today? How was your weekends? I hope you all had a wonderful weekend and that your Monday and your weeks are starting off brilliantly. For me, my weekend was very relaxing. I've been working a lot, not only on the channel, but behind the scenes as well. So I decided to take a little break and just hang out and do my own stuff, which was nice. So that was really, really relieving. Sorry, I'm seeing this damn thing. Like, this guy just does not want to leave my side. Maybe he wants to be my friend. So yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens as the stream goes on. But yeah, I had a nice, relaxing weekend. It was if you're a fan of movies, TV, or all that stuff, it was a great weekend to have because, as we're going to be talking about in a little bit, you have Inside Out 2 that killed it at the weekend box office here, which is, to a lot of people's surprise, I think people were expecting it to do well, but not as well as it did, especially in this current landscape of movies and theater-going experience are concerned. House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 1 just debuted. A lot of people are excited for that, so I'll talk about the first episode. Because I had a chance to finally watch it yesterday evening. Also, I did something interesting. I went back, and this is all based off of a conversation that I had with a friend of mine. And, we were talking about older movies, and recently here in the US, the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, they had 2 sets of dates where you could catch the extended cut re-releases in theaters of those movies. And I thought, wow, it would be kind of interesting to kind of revisit those movies because it's been a minute since I've seen them, right? So what I did, starting Friday night, I watched the extended cut of Fellowship of the Ring. On Saturday, I watched the extended cut of The Two Towers. And last night, I watched the extended cut of Return of the King. And I don't know, is it just me, or are these movies like the perfect fantasy genre movies? I feel like, yes, it is based on an already existing property, thanks to J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote the books and all that. And yes, everything was laid out, but you have to adapt it to screen, right? So the way that they formulated these movies, it's just almost perfect in my opinion. Everyone has an arc, and when you watch the extended cuts, everyone's arc is fully defined. You go through them, and it's completed by the end of Return of the King. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the extended cuts are like 3 hours, 3.5 hours, 4 hours long. Well, when you get to the extended cut of Return of the King, it's like 4 hours plus, right? So yes, it is. My ass is killing me as I was sitting through all those movies. But at the same time, it is just such good storytelling, and it's so brilliantly done. And you would think for movies that came out in the early 2000s, because I believe the first movie came out in 2005, I want to say 2003 maybe. Let's see. Fellowship of the Ring. Fellowship of the Ring came out come on. Where are you? 2001. Yeah, the first movie came out in 2001. Second movie came out 2002, I believe. Right? And then the last one came out in 2003. I think they did a year after year release. I believe that's how they did it. If memory serves me correctly. Which in itself is also a feat too. Where it was one of the very first times in a long time, or ever, in this epic scale, that they filmed all three movies back to back, or concurrently at the same time. That's why you never really got to see anyone change or get older or, whatever. That's one of the reasons why Stranger Things feels so weird nowadays, because even though I do love the show, it's hard to believe that these kids are still in high school, because everyone has aged so dramatically. It's just insane. So you kind of have to put that in the back of your head, right? But just the journey you go through in every iteration of the movies, whether it's Fellowship, Two Towers, or Return, in itself has a self-contained story arc. And it just so happens to be able to carry on with a movie that follow up afterwards. But if you were to, let's say, hop into any movie, yes, you will be missing some things, but at the same time, it's very easy to kind of follow everything through. And I don't know. I just think it's just brilliant filmmaking and storytelling, and the things that they were able to accomplish in these movies. It still holds up. Yeah, there are some moments where the special effects or the CG stands out a bit, especially nowadays with like 4K and clearer resolutions. You can kind of like tell, okay, that's digital and this and that. But when you think about it at the time, there was a lot of things that was done so much better than even the Star Wars prequels. Because if you remember, the prequels came out around the same time too. Phantom Menace came out in 99, right? With the follow-ups 3 years after that, 4 years after that. So this was along that same time when the Star Wars prequels came out. Yet somehow Peter Jackson and company was able to figure out how to do special effects so much better than Lucasfilm and ILM at the moment, which is bizarre to me. Bizarre. But yeah, it's such brilliant filmmaking and storytelling. It's just wow. From beginning to end, you really go through this journey, and it's such brilliant storytelling. And I've seen these movies billions of times, but watching it again this weekend, I still felt the same way I did when I first watched them. I was in awe. I was, transported in a time, and I enjoyed the moment. I enjoyed the ride. And I was just as enthralled as I was when I first saw it. And it's just so good. So good. And it's hard to say that nowadays, because my eyes and my mind is so critical now because of watching all of these movies and criticizing them or commenting on them. So I definitely feel like my eyes are more critical today than they were before. But I can't find much to really criticize about these movies. Yeah, there are some hokey moments, especially with the whole Arwen Aragorn love relationship. And yeah, I get it. I see the little memes and the jokes about the hobbits all being gay for each other and all that. But they're just happy folk. That's just how they are, right? But even with all that, I can still say that it's just brilliant, brilliant storytelling and filmmaking, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So if you haven't done it in a while, I highly, highly recommend you go back and watch these movies. If you're a fan of fantasy, if you're not a fan of fantasy movies, Sword and Sandal, all that stuff, then obviously these were never going to be the movies for you. But if you're a fan of film in general, I also would say give these movies another give them a rewatch, because the cinematography, the filmmaking, the pacing, the editing, how he patched everything through, it's just fantastic movies altogether. So that was my weekend journey there. All right, let me catch up on some chats here. Sorry, guys. I went off on my little rant there. Scorch saying Garfield did good too. We'll check the numbers for sure. Starlord, that must have been a journey. Can't handle one Lord of the Rings theatrically. Well, that's one of the great things about watching things at home, right? I was able to pause when I needed to. Nightbreed, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. Suck saying, is that the balcony that is on my waiting screen? Yes, that is a view outside of my window that you could see during the starting soon. And usually you'll get to see it also when the stream ends. Yes, it is Clive Barker. Stranger Things, the college years, very much like Saved by the Bell. Also here, Labyrinth is a good one. Labyrinth is a classic. If you're talking about the Jim Henson Labyrinth movie, that is a classic. Peter Jackson is a GOAT. Even his King Kong rocks. You know what? I do feel like his King Kong movie is underrated. I know it had a lot of criticism when it came out during the day, but I remember watching that movie and I actually really enjoyed it. Now, the only thing I would say is that he gets himself caught up in big kind of creature effects, right? He must be a huge fan of creature features, because there's so many moments in King Kong where they're battling in giant insects, bugs, dinosaurs, all this stuff. And I get it, Skull Island is supposed to be riddled with crazy monsters and beings and everything. But he really does get caught up in a lot of that stuff. But I do appreciate King Kong. I haven't watched it in a while, so maybe that should be another rewatch I should do. Starler saying he heard a theory about Saved by the Bell being all in Zach's head, proven by the theme song. Interesting. Okay. Never heard that theory before, but I'm willing to entertain it. What's going on, Jester? Jester in the building, in the house. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend and all. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Weta and ILM are on par. I feel like nowadays you could easily say that, but I think at that time it's just so bizarre to see how Weta did so many things that I felt were surpassing ILM at that time. So it's so crazy, so crazy. Zach Morris is trash. Star saying now it's time to be tortured by Rings of Power. It's an unparalleled journey. I mean, yes, the first season was kind of rough. I do think that it picked up towards the end of the season. So I am looking forward to season 2, but not as much as I was looking forward to, obviously, House of the Dragon 2. What's going on, Bacon? Chime in on the vertical stream. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for saying hi. Scorch can confirm Peter Jackson is obsessed with special effects. He collects movie memorabilia. You could tell. It shows in a lot of his movies, especially his recent movies, that he's really big into that. I will say that movie that he did where he took a bunch of footage, I believe it was World War I footage, or was it 2? And he digitized them and colorized them. That was a fantastic achievement that he did, restoring all that old footage. If you ever see, I forgot the name of that documentary, but that was brilliant. That was brilliant. So there is a part of me that is kind of interested and curious to see what he's going to do with Lord of the Rings moving forward, because He just got hired by Warner Brothers to do a trilogy of anthology films, and the first one being Gollum, another Gollum story. So I don't know. I feel like we don't need another Gollum story. I feel like Gollum's journey has concluded, and we don't need to know any more about that. But we'll see. I'll give him benefit of the doubt. I wasn't a huge fan of the Hobbit movies. I know he was kind of forced to turn them into 2 movies instead of keeping it at just 1. And I think that really suffered overall with the feeling of the movie for myself. But we'll see. We'll see. Scorch, yes, They Shall Not Grow Old. Yes, that came out in 2018. Such a brilliant documentary. He did such a good job with that. I really, really, really thought he did a great job with that, and I enjoyed watching that. Let's see. You don't need a fellowship. You need a riot squad. Not to be confused with a Suicide Squad. That is from a different company. I'm tired of that character. Yeah, I am too. I feel like Gollum, we don't need to know any more about Gollum. I mean, what else is there to know? You have, we already saw him as Schmeagol, and then he killed Deagle to get the ring after Deagle found the ring. We saw how the ring turned him into the creature Gollum. We saw his journey with the Fellowship and Frodo and this and that. We saw his demise. What else is there to know? He also popped up in The Hobbit, right? Because he was there alongside with Bilbo when Bilbo first came across the ring. So what is there left to really tell? I don't understand what other stories you could tell with this character, but we'll see. Warner Brothers is definitely desperate for another franchise, and if they have to revisit something, I guess they're going to do that. So we'll see what happens there. Sword saying he is not relevant in Lord of the Rings. He is. He's an important tale of the side effects of what the ring represents, right? He served a purpose to kind of tell the audience and also show Frodo and company that if they don't get rid of this ring, this is the result of what can happen. This is the result of the obsession. If Bilbo wasn't able to break away, eventually Bilbo would have probably turned up to be somewhat of a Gollum-like creature, right? And we saw a glimpse of it too. I'll never forget in Fellowship when he was trying to see, oh, can I look at the ring, Frodo? And then he's like, it's mine. And his face completely changed and all that. We could see the effects of the ring. And I think it's important to kind of tell that type of story. It gives you a purpose as to why that thing should be destroyed. Outside, obviously, of the rising of, Sauron's army, the orcs, the Uruk-hai, Saruman, and all that. So yeah, you needed like that pushing thing. That jump scare. Yeah, that was such a freaky moment. And they did such a good job transforming his face, even though so briefly. Such a great, and even like when I was rewatching, I was like, man, that's freaky. That is a freaky moment. Star Wars saying, I love In the Planet of the Apes, but this is not a cool of a character. Are you talking about Andy Serkis? Sounds like you're referring to Andy Serkis as an actor, who I think also major kudos should be given to him, because he is the one person who really put motion capture and motion performance on the map, right? And he kind of led the way in the advancement of that type of technology and usage of that effect. So really amazing stuff there from Andy Serkis. Kevin Davis. What's up, Kevin Davis? Here we go with a stat dump. Love it. Deadpool and Wolverine domestic box office debut prediction, $180 to $200 million. Now that we've seen what Inside Out can do, I wouldn't be surprised if that was true. Also, Kevin saying Despicable Me 4 domestic box office debut prediction, 80 to 100 million. So I think that is a perfect segue to our first main topic of today, which is the box office breakdown. So let's get into that, shall we? Box office breakdown. Box office breakdown. How well did Inside Out 2 do? It did amazing. It blew everything up. Everyone's happy. Let's go. All right. So this is a portion of the Monday stream where I talk about the weekend box office breakdown. And obviously the big news to come out of the weekend was the major performance of Inside Out 2. So I was saying I'm losing internet service here. My comments not coming through. Uh-oh. Sorry to hear that. That sucks. I hate when that happens. I'm seeing some of them come through, so I don't know which ones we've been missing. Hopefully that can get corrected. But yeah, so going into this weekend, I mean, I had a chance to see a week prior the first 30 minutes of Inside Out 2. After seeing that, not only did I say to myself, wow, I wasn't expecting to like it this much, and now I'm eagerly anticipating to watch the rest of the movie, but it also made me realize this could actually be a big movie. And I think it might end up being bigger than a lot of people expect it to be. I think originally some people were speculating that Inside Out 2 will do 40 million, 50 million over opening weekend. I was saying that I was willing to go as higher as 60 to 65, maybe possibly 70. And when reports started coming in and flowing in on Friday, this past Friday, saying that now expectations were like 70 to 80 million. And then on Saturday, it was like 100 million. And then by Sunday, reports of it being 120 to 130. It's amazing how not even those in the industry and those who do this kind of stuff for a living could keep up and truly predict where this movie was going to end up, because it was beating all expectations going through the weekend. Now, when you look at the overall picture, it has proven itself to be the biggest opening of this year so far. And that is such quite a big major feat. So here I am on my site that I love, thenumbers.com, with the numbers tallied from the past weekend. And you could see here that Inside Out 2 came in at 155 million domestically over this past weekend. Again, blowing expectations out of the water, like big time. When you look at the global numbers, internationally, it did 140 million, coming in just shy under $300 million on its opening weekend. Opening weekend, everybody. Think about that. Most movies recently, they'd be happy if this was their full theatrical run intake. But this is just the opening weekend. Worldwide, $295 million. And probably the best performing movie of the year so far. The only other movie that I would say it could compare to is Dune 2. Because Dune 2 did also very well in theaters when it opened up, but not to the extent of what was happening here with Inside Out 2. A great example here is look at the comparison of Bad Boys Ride or Die. Bad Boys Ride or Die has been in the theaters now for 2 weeks, right? Last week it was at number 1. This week it dropped to number 2. It pulled in 33.7 million the second weekend. Overall, domestically, 113 million. Great example. 113 million versus 155 million for Inside Out 2 domestically. Opening weekend versus 2 weeks in theaters, right? Now, if you look at international box office numbers for Bad Boys Ride or Die, worldwide, it's currently at $215.2 million. So still, 2 weeks out, it still has not hit that kind of, I guess, new threshold for 2024 that Inside Out 2 has done in its opening weekend. And this is for an animated movie. Animated movies that haven't really been performing as well in box office, because family films and animated films like this, most families are waiting for home streaming, video on demand, because people would rather just wait till the movie comes out at home so they could watch it at the comfort of their home. They don't have to worry about bringing their kids to the theater, dealing with all that headache, spending a lot of money on tickets and concessions. But people showed out for this. Now, could it be because people were aware that Disney was keeping this in theaters for over 100 days without any streaming release anytime in the near future? Were audiences made aware of that? I don't know. Or was it because this is really truly a beloved franchise? Well, now you could call it a franchise because this is a sequel, because the first movie was as beloved as we are seeing it now. Because I think a lot of people would say that Inside Out, the first movie, is one of their favorite Pixar movies. I would say for me, it's definitely top 3. You know, it's right up there with movies like Monsters, Inc. and The Incredibles. And I think if you ask me, depending on the week, things can change and flip and they switch out. You know, Toy Story has always been a fantastic series. There's just so many great Pixar movies out there. And that's another thing that I think this has going for it too. It's such a great throwback to old school Pixar storytelling, you know, and it's just fantastic. So I'm very happy for these guys. I'm very happy for the movie itself. This movie will have legs. This is one of the few movies that will actually have legs because, again, no streaming in sight. Not until earliest, maybe September, October. And that's a long time to wait. So for anyone who wants to see this movie, theater and theatrical attendance is necessary for this. Coming in third is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Again, a great example here. Was 5th last week. Right up to number 3. But look how much it pulled in. Only $5.2 million. Domestically overall, since it's been out, and it's been out for a while, $157.8 million. Globally, it has done $374.5 million, which is a great sign for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I think a great sign that people really enjoy this franchise still. Good word of mouth. I think that's what brought people back into theaters here. Garfield the movie pulled in 4.7 domestically, 78.2 overall domestically. Worldwide box office is now sitting at $217.4 million. Again, it surprises me how well this movie did in the international market. So I guess if you really think about it, Garfield still has a strong international presence versus domestically here in the US, because in order for anything to still be relevant, especially for an old franchise like this, you have to have some sort of presence in the current like lexicon of things, right? Right now, there's no ongoing cartoon series for Garfield. Newspapers are dead at this point. No one's reading the comic strips in the Sunday papers anymore, where Garfield originated from. Book sales for Garfield compilations, I don't know how well they're doing these days. I don't know if that's something that's still big, but there's been no kind of ongoing efforts to put Garfield in the minds of the younger generation now. Hence why you're seeing a lower than usual box office for this. But internationally, I guess it still does well. So that's a very good sign for this movie, and I'm pretty sure I won't be surprised if we hear any announcement or talks about sequel or any other follow-ups to this movie. If from Paramount is in 5th place, that is the Imaginary Friends movie with Ryan Reynolds, directed by John Krasinski. 3.6 million, 101 million domestically overall. If we look at the international box office for this, 173.6 million. Nothing that big. The Watchers, Ishana Shyamalan's debut movie, 3.5 million. I believe this is the 2nd week it's been out. So not really doing hot at all. 13.5 million domestically so far overall. Not a great debut for her. Furiosa, Mad Max Saga continues to drop week after week. 2.6 million, 63.3 million domestically overall. 160.3 million worldwide. That is a major flop. And I think you would say, or it's safe to say, that this is probably going to be one of the biggest flops of 2024 when we do like a year in recap. I think a lot of people are going to say that for sure. Fall Guy is probably going to be the other flop outside of that. Coming in 8th place, 1.6 million, 88 million overall. Also, it's available on demand. So theater attendance is going to be not that strong as it used to be. Overall worldwide box office is 170.1 million. Then we got The Strangers Chapter 1, pulling in just under, like way under $1 million. So you have that coming in 9th place. Then, funny enough, as I was just talking about, you have Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, making it to the top 10, remaining in the top 10 from last week, $632,000, adding to its overall original theatrical title. And then you have The Two Towers coming in outside of that in 11th place. Anything outside of the top 10 that's worth noting? Let's quickly take a look, shall we? Nothing big. It's a lot of older movies, re-releases, a lot of independent movies. Nothing really just major there to look at. And if all of you are wondering, well, how come Return of the King is not on here? It's because Return of the King actually is releasing on Monday, today. So that wouldn't be included on the weekend box office numbers there. So yeah, so crazy stuff. And just based off what we're seeing here, if we look at, let's do this. Let's look at the overall box office picture for the year so far. And you can see that Dune Part 2 still is the number one with 282 gross overall. Godzilla Kong is in second. Kung Fu Panda is in third. Then you got Kingdom and Inside Out 2. These numbers are going to drastically change because I strongly feel Inside Out 2 is going to keep growing and increasing and rising and may end up being one of the most successful movies of the year. Definitely successful movies of the summer. And I think this is a good sign for some things. Going into the summer box office, it looked very dire. It looked very poor. I think it's easy to say that Deadpool and Wolverine was going to be the number one standout, and I think the number one go-getter. So Kevin Davis's prediction of 180 to 200 million, I think, isn't far from the truth. I think that could be something that's definitely going to happen. The other movies that people, or at least Hollywood, was really expecting and hoping that will pull in big numbers this summer is Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, and Twisters. Now, Inside Out 2 has already shown that, yes, it is a big major motion picture and definitely helped out with the summer box office. As for Despicable Me 4, 80 to 100 million is nothing to shy at. I think they're hoping they could do more than that, but I don't think it's going to have the same strength and appeal as Inside Out 2, because Inside Out speaks to not only kids, but also adults as well. If you caught my review from last week, it definitely speaks to all generations, and I think it's very relatable across the board. Despicable Me 4 is just more of like a funny, kid-like, fun adventure story. Doesn't have that kind of same Pixar messaging that they like to hide in their stories. So it's definitely going to be geared more towards the younger crowd. So I'm not expecting it to pull in huge numbers. And Twisters, I don't know. I don't know if Twisters is something that you could really root for as far as pulling in big box office numbers. I'm curious to check it out. But if I were to predict how much it's going to do in opening weekend, maybe 60 million, because it is one of those movie theater going experiences with the special effects, the sound, and everything. I'm sure good, bucket of popcorn, giant soda, sugar water, however you want to call it, just shove it in your face, watch this thing, and then there you go. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these other movies are going to perform, knowing now what a movie like Inside Out 2 can do. This week is a very, I don't want to say sad week for movies. There are some decent movies that are coming out, like Bike Riders, I really want to check out. In limited run, there's Yorgos Lanthimos' new movie, Kind of Kindness, which I'm dying to see. It doesn't really hit more nationwide until the following week. And I believe there's one other movie. Oh, this a smaller movie called Thelma, which looks very interesting to me too. And no, it's not Thelma from the Flintstones. It's not Thelma from Thelma and Louise. It's a story about an old lady. I don't know the details behind it all, but it looks very fascinating and interesting to me. So it's a good week for more smaller fare when it comes to movies, not big blockbuster fares. So I think Inside Out 2 will end up becoming number one again at the end of this upcoming weekend when all the numbers are tallied and said and done. So yeah. So that is the box office breakdown. Curious as to what everyone else thinks out there. Did you see any of the movies that came out? Let me know in the comments. Would love to hear all that stuff. All right, let me catch up with some of the chats. Star-Lord, it's a sign people want just Disney animation. Not just that, but good animation and good stories. I think people are hankering for old school Pixar stories and that effect that Pixar movies can have on you. It's been a long time since I watched a Pixar movie that really hit me that hard. You know, like not only emotionally, but story-wise. I think the last time I was ever really truly affected by a Pixar movie like that, you'll probably have to go back all the way to Up. You know, because Toy Story 4 was good, but it didn't have that same effect like Toy Story 3 had on me. Star-Lord Mad Max scene, no. Star-Lord says that his Mad Max Knight Rider movie would remain #1 at the box office. Is that because you're going to threaten everyone else who don't go out and support it? Because that would be a very Knight Rider thing to do. Hold on, guys. I'm just making sure. I'm checking my phone, making sure that the world around us hasn't blown up yet. All right. Also, a quick announcement for the schedule for the week. Nintendo just announced that they're having their Nintendo Direct tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So I will be planning to go live around 9:30 tomorrow to kind of just react and watch the Nintendo Direct. So if you're interested in that stuff, make sure to hang out tomorrow as we do that stream here. Then the next stream after that will be Wednesday, around 12 noonish, as I talk about episode 4 of The Acolyte, as that comes out tomorrow evening. And then Friday, as usual, around 12 noon, as I talk about and give my review on Knight Riders and more than likely Thelma. I think I'll have time to see that. Not Knight Riders. My God, what's I have Star-Lord's movie in my head. Bike Riders, which is a prequel to Knight Riders. It's a prequel to Mad Max because it is about a bunch of bike riders and a bicycle gang. Not bicycle gang, motorcycle gang. Oh, I need to take a breather. My mind is mush. But you know what I'm talking about. So that's going to be happening on Friday there. No plans for a weekend stream just yet. So I will announce that if it is something that I can do over the weekend. But it looks like my weekend might be a little busy. Started saying people won't support my movie. They will adopt it. Ooh, look at that. Fun, fun, fun. Also, if you are watching live on any of the streams, do me a quick favor. Make sure you hit that like button. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Scorch, Mad Max 2 is damn good. Yeah. I don't know. I did a full rewatch recently. It's definitely the best of all the Mad Max movies. Well, no, I won't. No. Retraction. It is the best of the Mel Gibson Mad Max movies. I still think Fury Road is the #1 Mad Max movie. I would even say Furiosa is #2, and Mad Max 2 will come in #3. It's a great action nonsense type of movie. Is it a great movie as far as storytelling is concerned? Not really. But it's definitely a guilty pleasure type of watch. I will say that. At least for me. That's just me personally. But I think we could all agree, or maybe not. Maybe, again, this is just a me thing, that Beyond Thunderdome is trash. That is just a garbage movie. It's a feral child of the night. Are you referring to Mad Max 2? Also, it's kind of funny too if you really think about it, when you go back to Mad Max 2, how the feral child was the narrator in the movie, how he grew up, how this feral child grew up to be very intelligent. You know, it's just pretty funny, actually, if you think about it. Beyond Thunderdome was a kids movie. Yeah, I agree. That's when you saw, I think, the studio intervening big time. And I don't think George Miller really wanted to do that movie. That's why it was a movie that was kind of co-written, co-directed, I believe. So I was saying, no, Knight Rider is the feral child of the night. Wait, who did the kid grow up? So the feral child, if you actually go back to watch Mad Max 2, at the very end of the movie, he was the narrator that we heard throughout the movie. And he said how he grew up to be kind of like an older statesmanish like kind of thing and all that. And I was just like, how in the world did this feral child with the crazy boomerang that chops people's hands off grow up to be that intelligent? But that's what happened. He made Babe and Happy Feet so he can make good kids movies. Oh, absolutely. That's one of the fun, like the best trivia questions too, because no one would have expected that a person like George Miller, who did the Mad Max movies, did Babe and Happy Feet. Both really great movies too. Sorry, y'all. I'm just catching up on the chats, making sure I don't miss anything here. All right. Looks like I'm all caught up for now, but obviously keep the conversations going. You know how much I love that. Hold on. Just give me a second. Oh, why is this happening now? Okay, never mind. It's nothing important. All right. So who here is a big fan of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon? I'm curious. Yes, that will do, Pig. So we had the debut of House of the Dragon season 2. And Scorch saying he's Team Green. Awesome. I'm Team Dragon. I don't care who it's on. I just love seeing all of these dragons. Just dragons all over the place. It's fantastic. I love it. You know, and if you're going to have a show called House of the Dragon, you better have a ton of dragons. And this show definitely has a ton of dragons, which is fantastic. It's great. But season 1, when it came out, I think it gave people a lot of, I guess, reprieve and excitement. And now the spider has moved on to my light. Sorry, guys. I get really freaked out with spiders. Hold on. Give me a second. I think the spider really wants to be a friend. And I think the spider really wants to be on the show. You know, so I may have like a new co-host with me. And it's one of those like little hopping spiders too. So he's being very annoying, to say the least. Oh, there he is. Now he's about to hit the camera lens. So we may get an impromptu close-up of this guy. Hold on. All right. I didn't kill it. I just kind of blew it away. So basically just saying, I don't mind you here. Just don't be here. Don't be here because I'm getting freaked out as is. I'm getting so freaked out. You don't know it. I'm sweating. That's how scared of spiders I am. where I like literally start sweating. I don't know if you could see it, but I'm like, yeah, I definitely have a bad case of arachnophobia. So you could imagine when that movie came out, how for me that is like a true horror movie for me, because that's like my worst fear. And I know it says House of the Dragon review, but I want to tell this story real quick. So if you remember, you know what? Let me take this down here so that I could just tell my quick story. In Arachnophobia, one of the scariest moments of that movie was towards the end. And that's when all the spiders were really like coming out in that house that they were in, to the point where you just saw all these spiders kind of like coming down from the ceilings. And, you know, Jeff Daniels is like, oh my God, you know, he's me. That's me. If I was in that movie, I would be freaking out like him. And I would freeze every time I would see a spider like that. And I said, my worst fear ever would be to experience a moment like that, where I'm in a room or in a house and tons of spiders will just start coming down from the ceiling. That would be like the worst thing to ever happen. And guess what? I actually had it happen to me once. This is going back a while ago. I think I was probably 15 or 16 years old. I wasn't living here. I was living in another place. And I had a room and my mom lived in the same apartment as I am. And I remember it was, I guess, summertime. I was off from school. So I was taking a nap in my room. And I remember waking up. This was probably like mid-afternoon-ish, right? Something like that. And you know when you wake up and you're groggy, your eyes have problems focusing. So I remember waking up and just looking up, and I thought I was seeing colors because my eyes were all blurry and all that. But I looked up and it looked like there were like a bunch of red dots just circling the ceiling, like roaming around the ceiling. And I'm like, oh, my eyes are playing tricks on me because I just woke up, right? So I did one of these things. I went to the bathroom. I washed my face, all that. And I came back to the room and I looked up and the dots were still there. And there were so many of them all over the ceiling, just circling and walking around. So what I decided to do is I got like a little stool so I could get closer to the ceiling. And I looked up, and it turns out that all of these dots were actual baby spiders, red baby spiders. So apparently an egg just hatched in my room. And now the ceiling was filled with these little red baby spiders. At first, of course, I was like, what the fuck? This is insanity, right? Then guess what started happening? Little by little, they each started coming down from the ceiling. I'm like, fuck no. I jumped off of the stool. I ran out. I got a vacuum. I got a book. I got a can of Lysol. And I was just like, hell no, get the fuck out of here. I was vacuuming up everything, smashing things, spraying things as they were coming down, like do like this. And it was just bonkers. It was nuts. And this is a true story. This really happened to me. And I don't know how many I killed. I don't know how many I sucked up. I don't know how many kind of just ended up running away or whatever the case is. But it was hands down probably one of the most terrifying experiences I ever had. You know? And I've been in car accidents. Yet this is the most terrifying experience I've ever had. And I'll never forget it. Never forget it. And I remember sweating and I was cold and I was just like, yeah, it was bad. It was really, really, really bad. So yeah, whenever I see a spider somewhere or whatever, I still get that same reaction. And there's nothing I can really do about it. So I'm sorry to hear that Star-Lord is having really bad connection issues. I hope he could figure it out. All right, let's get back to House of the Dragon. So, when season 1 ended, I think we can all agree it ended in such a very typical Game of Thrones type of ending and cliffhanger, when we have And I do apologize in advance because I'm so bad with character names. So I'm going to pull up a list of character names here. And I do apologize because I'm just so bad. All right. So season 1 ended with Renea's son, who got brutally killed by Alicent's other son, her oldest son, because he basically lost control of his dragon. Dragon be dragon, and dragon definitely dragon the son and his dragon. And you could tell, and I believe the son's name is Aemon Targaryen, right? You could tell by his reactions, like, uh-oh, I done messed up. This is not going to be good. And of course, season 1 ended with the amazing face of Rhaenyra just turning around and looking like she is just ready to kill. She's ready to go to war because of this craziness, right? And you can so tell. And that's basically how season 1 ended. So of course, all of us are wondering, okay, what's going to happen in season 2? There's definitely going to be retribution. There's definitely going to be a new war, civil war, between the Targaryens here. And I'm all for it. Let's go. Kevin Davis, HBO House of the Dragon will get Emmy nominations at next year telecast. I think that's very safe to say, for sure. I think anything like Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, especially HBO quality, will always be considered for Emmy nominations. So I won't be surprised if that's the case. I think that's kind of a sure thing at this point. And we're just here with the first episode. But the first episode, first of all, I love the new opening. I love the tapestries, because, like if you think about it, tapestries are meant to tell stories, especially history. So I love how they're weaving in the history of Westeros and the throne and the Targaryens and everything that's been happening. And I was watching somebody's kind of recap, which I don't normally do, but there were some things I just needed clarification on because there's so much happening in just this one episode. And I love they kind of mentioned the fact that tapestries are continuing to be woven and there's still stuff left to be told. So obviously, as the seasons go on, we're going to see more entries into this tapestry. Very much similar to how we've seen openings of Game of Thrones. I love the opening of Game of Thrones because it always told us where we're going to be, what area of Westeros we're going to focus on. I loved the first season of House of Dragon because it showed us the bloodline of everyone involved in the Targaryen household and introducing new bloodlines when things happen and maybe cutting out older bloodlines when someone passes away. I love all of that, right? So I love this new opening. It's such a brilliant way to open the series. But yeah, it basically takes place, it picks up not so soon. Not too far after the events of the ending of season 1. And we learn some stuff, right? So basically we learn that Alicent, her son, who is that guy? The one who is now on the throne. I forget the character's name. Aegon Targaryen. He is learning to rule, and we find out that he is a different kind of king than I was expecting him to be. I thought we were going to get another Joffrey kind of rule, but he is definitely someone he doesn't mind to be kind of shady and dirty, but when it comes to the people in the community, he seems to be very caring. He was willing to give the guy his sheep back. He's willing to give the blacksmiths the money they deserve and all that, even though the right hand, the high tower guy, was just like, don't do that because you're being kind of a softie. So I feel like in a way he's definitely more reminiscent of his dad than maybe the dad's brother, Daemon Targaryen. So I feel like that is a very refreshing take on this type of character instead of making it too, I guess, typical, too predictable, right? So you have that going on. Alicent is having an affair with Christian. This guy, man, he can't seem to keep his shit in his pants. He wanted to get with Rhaenyra, which he did, right? Well, he didn't want to, but he was seduced. He broke his vow. They hooked up. Then he fell in love with her. She didn't want to be attached to him because she wanted to do her own thing. He got butthurt. Eventually swore loyalship to Allison. And now he's doing the same thing with Allison right now, which is so funny and hypocritical. But they're knocking boots, right? They're doing the dirty stuff, which is kind of funny. You can't have Game of Thrones or anything Game of Thrones related without anything sexual, right? So you get that. So that's an interesting thing. I love that how we got kind of a nice throwback to the Starks and the Wall when we see one of the other sons, one of the other Rhaenyra's sons, trying to gain allegiance of the Starks. So we got a nice little throwback of the Wall itself, why they're there, a little bit of the old lineage of the Starks family, you know, with who they're dealing with. So it was kind of nice to see that. But then the crux of this episode is Rhaenyra is in mourning. She's out there trying to find the remains of her son and the dragon. And she comes across it. She's still very, very hurt by it all. And everyone around her is preparing for the worst, obviously, right? And the big thing is that when she gets back, she makes a proclamation that she basically wants revenge. She wants an eye for an eye, son for a son. She wants basically Aemon. She wants the head of Aemon to be delivered, right? So, of course, Daemon is going to do what he can to carry out this wish from his love, right? And, you know, he employs a rat catcher and one of his former fellow guardsmen in wherever they are, I forgot where they're going, to carry out this deed, right? So, of course, you're kind of expecting that things are going to go wrong. I love the fact that the wife of, who is it? The wife of, is it Aemon's wife or is it the other son's wife? Anyway, she's the one that could like has foresight into the future. I love how she kind of hinted that her main problem or fear is rats. So I love how this all ties together. But it leads to basically them breaking in, taking her hostage, and they can't seem to find Aemon anywhere, right? So they figured, well, let's just kill his son anyway. And they have the two kids there, and she gives up the son. And in a very brutal way, you hear them take this poor little kid, and they're cutting his head off, which is so brutal. And so, just thinking about it is so disturbing. And of course, you see the mom freaking out, taking the other child, her daughter, running out and busting through Allison's room while she's doing the deed again with good old Christian, even though she told him that we can't do that anymore, but she can't I guess she can't turn a good thing away, right? So they got to do the deed. And basically he's like, oh, that's it. They killed the son and I don't know what to do. And you saw Allison's face in shock and in fear of what's going on. And that's basically how the episode ended. Now, of course, there's a lot of other things that happened within this episode. A lot of stuff to go through. You know, they're definitely creating all of these other subplots that are all going to be happening through the show. But these are the main bullet points of what's happening here. And I think it's a great start. I really do think it's a great start. I think it is a nice, you kind of need to ease your way back into this world because you're always in for a crazy ride anytime you watch anything Game of Thrones related. House of the Dragon is no different. We saw a lot happening in season 1, expecting a lot of things to happen here in season 2. You know, Aemon, you could tell that he is going to be a problem. You know, there seems to always be a problem in jealousy of brothers and thrones and leadership. He's trying to, you know, work behind his brother's back and try to formulate forces to go against, you know, Rhaenyra's side of things. Daemon is, you know, he's always going to be a live wire. You know, he's always going to be that wild card. And there's a lot of similarities between the two. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be a butting of heads once again, kind of similar to what we kind of saw and hinted at in the first season. So the Otto is going to be something to be, mindful of. You have the other guy who's kind of like the little finger of the show. His name is a Clubfoot, right? The guy who has an obsession with feet. He's trying to get in good graces with Alicent there. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in this season, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It's going to be very interesting. What's going on, Bailey? Really, really like to see you back here. Glad to see. Bailey, I'm not sure what you're talking about. So Bailey's saying that you hurt me before. There's a movie, Benjamin, scary movie. A guy is pretend like he's dead, but there's a bunch of blood everywhere. People didn't see that, but you need to stop. Bailey, I'm not sure I have no idea what you're talking about. That doesn't sound like anything that I talked about or I did. Sorry, you're affected that way, but I think you're talking to the wrong person. But thanks for the comment. I really, really appreciate the comment. What's going on, Gray? Thanks for the subscription. There's your shout out. What's the fascination? I'm just curious. Those of you watching, what is the fascination of having people shout your name out? I'm just curious. I seem to get a lot of requests like that. I'm going to start charging you guys. If you want your name shout out, you're going to have to super chat at least $1. So bizarre of a thing. What's going on, Suck? I just get Suck. If you're back now, I just did my quick recap and review of episode 1 of season 2 of House of the Dragon. Did you have a chance to see it yet, or are you even interested in watching that show? No, not really. Okay. No need to apologize. I mean, it's not going to be for everybody. It's just, it is a major show, and I was a huge fan of Game of Thrones. I really enjoyed season 1 of House of the Dragon. So I'm very happy that season 2 is back. I think this is a great first start of this new season. And I know we're in for a lot of craziness that's going to happen. So I do live in Queens. Yes, that is correct. Also, I should say that I've never read any of the Game of Thrones books. I've never read anything. So the only thing that I know is what I'm being shown on the shows. I know there are some people who may have criticisms about the show. I already heard some criticisms about something that they may have messed up in this first episode. I don't know anything about that. As someone who has been affected by similar things from other properties, I can understand why people get, frustrated and upset and everything. But for me, just going through the show, I like what I'm seeing. So at this moment in time, I have no complaints. Scorch, the shoutouts are just YouTube vertical live things. Yeah, people flipping through. Yeah, it's people who just get come across the stream, and I guess they get kicks out of people acknowledging them, right? I get it. That's why it's always interesting the type of audience you get on a vertical stream versus a regular formatted stream. It is very fascinating how all of this works. I'll be honest, I'm not a TikTok person. I at the very beginning when I started doing this channel, I dabbled in TikTok a little bit, but I just I am such an opponent on very quick, short form video because I feel like long form, you could tell a better story. Long form, you could have a better connection. Quick snippets are just distractions. And I think it's definitely causing a lot of ADD out there, short attention spans. But I also understand it's a very popular medium. And some people prefer watching video in that format. So that's why I do both, you know. And if I haven't, you know, for example, Suck and Scorched, I would have never had a chance to connect with you guys, you know, because you were able to find me through that format. And I'm just hoping to build on that community because there's a lot of people, and YouTube does, in a way, favor the vertical formats more than regular at the moment. So it'll be great to cast a net and find more people to kind of help grow this community and all. So I'm very grateful for all of that. But yes, you do come across some, you know, some other types of folk who just ask for funny things. Sucking at the railway. Well, that's just a line, a train line that runs by me. It is what we call the Long Island Railroad. It's one of many rail lines that run in the city. Starla, welcome back. How's your internet going? What exactly is happening? Is it just like a service outage, or are you having problems with connections in your home? Starla, I'm also wondering, did you watch episode 1 of season 2 of House of the Dragon, or do you have any interest? Scorch, did you? I'm just curious who here is interested in the show. Outside of me, apparently. No, I know that's not true. I'm sure there are other people watching who are like very interested. Not seen it yet? Okay. I was watching an anime movie. Which anime movie were you watching? Sucks thinks he knows where I live. Well, don't dox me now. Stoller saying it happens from time to time, but never on live streams for his internet connection. Doxing is when people out your location online. So it's a big problem with a lot of YouTubers nowadays, especially YouTubers who are fighting amongst each other. What they would do to get back at the person is that they would dox them. So basically release all their personal information, their locations, where they live online, so that they could be left open to harassment. Some people actually swat them. They will actually send like a false police report or call to their house. So yeah, it's crazy stuff. So, oh, Jujutsu Kaisen. Never watched it. I know of it. I have friends who like it, but I've never seen it. How did you like it? Do I know Dragon Lord? What's that? What is Dragon Lord? It sounds fascinating. Star Lord, I'm not interested in House of the Dragon. I'm interested in other things currently. Star Wars Acolyte and The Chosen Season 4. Oh, I've never seen The Chosen. How is that show? Dragon Lord is the German king of doxing. Really? Is he an online personality? How about The Boys? Anyone watching The Boys yet? I know they just released the first 3 episodes of their season 4 last week. I'm so behind. I need to catch up and have a chance to watch that stuff. AKB with the knowledge drop there. Thank you. Reaffirming everything I just said. What's going on, AKB? Nice to have you here. AKB in the house. Sucks saying Dragon Lord leaked his address in 2014 and like 10,000 people visited him. Wow. So he did that on purpose? I wonder why. The Chosen is a very beautiful show. Dallas is going for 7 seasons. Oh, interesting. Okay. Scorch, I have a bunch of other anime on my list. Castlevania Nocturne, Pluto, Baki Kengen, Oshura crossover. I've not seen any of those. Now, Castlevania, I watched... Let me think now. I think I watched the first season of Castlevania, and I really liked it. But then I've never had a chance to watch any of the follow-up seasons. You can watch it on the Chosen app, all seasons free. So the show actually has its own app? Because that's amazing. Sucks that when he leaked it, he wasn't famous. Well, I'm sure he's famous now. I'm sure he's extremely famous now. Whether he likes it or not. Well, it's interesting too, because 2014, I mean, the concept of doxing is very new, right? So I don't think a lot of people people didn't weaponize it that much back then, I think. Castlevania's a bop. Hellraiser 2. Watched episode 1 of The Boys. It dropped off. I'm calling it quits. Really? Wow. You know, I'm seeing a lot of that type of reaction to this season. I actually, you know what? Why don't we go into, because I think we're pretty much done talking about House of the Dragon here. Why don't we go to headlines? And this is just a free thing where I like to just go through, check out the recent headlines, everything that's happening. And this is something that stood out to me, exactly what you're saying, which I don't know, I'm kind of surprised about, but maybe there's something that I'm missing. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. So here I saw this post from Screen Rant, and I think you could see it on the vertical. All right. The Boys' popularity has been declining among viewers on Rotten Tomatoes, but season 4 has had a stunning drop in audience favorability. 25% audience score. Boys season 4 is the first in the show's history to earn a Rotten designation from the audience. Unbelievable. That's crazy. I thought this show was beloved by a lot of people. Is it mainly because of the amount of time between seasons? Is it because they tried too much, maybe with the spinoff? Like, I'm curious, why has the fan base turned on it? Scorched, maybe you could let us know. Sword, yes, it used to be with Angel Studios, but they had some legal issues. Oh, okay. So they're part of like the faith-based community type of content, right? Because Angel Studios is very big on that stuff. Scorch meant Hellsing. Oh, not Hellraiser. I thought they made a Hellraiser anime, which I think would be kind of dope, actually, if you think about it. Storage says the needs to catch up on The Boys. Scorch, the spinoff was better than this, and even that wasn't great. Wow, really? See, I never watched season 3 just because time. And then I kind of forgot about it. How did you feel about season 3, Scorched? Did you feel like it ended well? Did you like it? Like, why, in your opinion, do you feel that The Boys is not that great anymore? It's like saying, please Google Rainer Winkler. Winkler. Oh, here we go. Drakenlord. So that is the German web video producer and live streamer who gained notoriety in German-speaking countries due to a strong bullying or cyberbullying scene that formed against him. Wow. Crazy. And he's considered to be one of Germany's biggest lolcows. Oh, that's funny. So I guess you could kind of put him up there with Boogie 2988 and Wings of Redemption. Scorch didn't even like season 2. Wow. I feel like after season 1, they stopped playing the main quest and are just doing fetch quests. I do remember you did say that. You're right. I kind of liked season 2. But I wonder if it's... So here's what I'm thinking. I think I liked season 2 because of the absurd things that happen in it. You know, things that are just a little bit too crazy. Like, for example, I love the whole orgy scene and that big explosion that happened without spoiling anything or being too graphic about it. I was laughing at it. I remember I was like, this is so insane. And I think I was just liking it because of the absurdity of it all, right? I also did like kind of, you know, when I was watching it, I liked how there was a lot of parallels and comparisons to things that we are seeing in the United States when it comes to politics and when it comes to corporatizing things and consumerism. So I did like that play on what if corporate America took hold of superheroes and you know, kind of corporatized them, made them more consumer based. So I've always liked that thing and how everything could go wrong with that. Maybe things change in season 3. I don't know. In Gen V, they even made a dick explode.
I'm gonna come.
That's funny. See, even when Gen V came out, I didn't have a chance to watch that. So it's so interesting to hear about that. Man, so the days may be over for The Boys, huh? It sounds like they're going the route of Umbrella Academy. Because I remember when Umbrella Academy came out, I was a major fan of that show. I think the first 2 seasons were fantastic. And then it started getting harder to watch because it just felt like a slog to get through. And the last season and a half, I should say, I never finished because it was just so, for me personally, so hard to get through. So I wonder if it's suffering the same problems. And I wonder if this just goes back to the narrative that I think people are just tired of superhero stuff. You know, I think people are just really exhausted with the whole superhero genre. The Boys is only good when it's doing cape shit, not shock value. Oh, cape shit and shock value. Yeah, and I think, again, it goes back to what I said. It is very... my liking of the show is basically for shock value. I love the shock value to it. So I guess when you think about it, if you removed all of that, how's the story in itself, right? So yeah, I guess we'll see. I think I'll be fine, Suck. I think I'll be fine. Because at the same time, too, even though you may have an idea where I am, it's still going to be hard to pinpoint. But I appreciate it, though. So that's crazy stuff about The Boys, man. That's crazy. Really, really crazy. I wonder how much longer until we hear that The Boys is going to be canceled. But at the same time, I wonder what the ratings will look like. Starlord is still having internet problems. I'm sorry to hear that. Scorch saying if this was the last season, you'd watch it. I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll really see what happens. I mean, there's still people who talk about it. So I'm sure there's still going to be a fan base, you know? So I just try. It's just when I try to chat, but the stream is working fine. All right. It still sucks that you have to go through that. It's not fun every time there's like problems there. Let's see. I'm just going through some of the latest headlines here. Oh, I love Incredible. I haven't seen the last season, but Incredible, the show, from what I've seen before, is really good. I really, really liked it. Scorch, are you having problems with your chat too? I wonder if it's a YouTube thing. Is anyone else having problems? I'm just curious. YouTube has been having a lot of weird issues lately. I know they were having problems with notifications for a while. Maybe they still are. I don't know. Now, if they're having problems with chat, I wonder if they're like trying to update something behind the scenes. Because I also notice that every time they push through an update or some sort of new feature, it messes up certain things that is currently working. So I was saying, I think so. All right. Let's see. I'm just going through some of the headlines here. So, hold on. Oh, okay. So AKB just sent me a message separately saying that there definitely is something going on with YouTube chat. One of his chats failed in the normal stream, and then trying to chat in the vertical stream saying that the chat service is currently unavailable. Wow. So YouTube is definitely having problems. sorry everyone who's trying to like leave comments and chat. I do apologize. Sounds like YouTube is definitely having some major issues there. So I don't know how up to date or everything I'll be able to be with chats at the moment if there's going to be continuing issues like this. So, Scorch getting the same thing, service unavailable. So weird. That sucks. Sorry, everybody. What's going on in my world? How's it going? Thank you for your chat. Apparently, they're not having problems with chat in the vertical stream, so I appreciate you saying hello. Hope you're having a good day, evening. AKB is requesting, can you recap the Inside Out 2 opening weekend numbers? Sure. So I did cover this earlier in the stream, but just to quickly go off it again, let me just get back to this site here. So yeah, so Inside Out 2 obviously won the weekend box office by a landslide. I mean, it came in way above expectations. And you could see here that Inside Out 2 pulled in 154.2 million. And this is just domestically. When you look at the worldwide numbers overall, it pulled in 294.2 million. Gigantic opening for its first weekend. And I did a comparison of how Bad Boys 2 is performing, which was a big opening the weekend before. But even in its 2 weeks, it has not even come close to its first weekend. Inside Out 2. That's incredible. No, this is Inside Out 2. Incredibles is another Pixar movie. Sorry. I just had to. So yeah, so it's a major phenomenon, and it's definitely one of the best openings of a movie this year. Dune 2 still is the top spot as far as like overall best performer of the year so far. But Inside Out 2 is definitely going to get close to maybe catching up, if not surpassing it. And it's one of the first legit hits of the summer. And I do think it's definitely going to have legs because, again, no streaming date in sight for this movie. Disney made a statement basically saying that this is going to stay in theaters 100 days straight. So at the earliest, maybe you could get this on demand premium way in September or October. And who knows when it'll hit Disney Plus, right? So whether people know that or not, or this is a beloved movie, the first one, that people were really dying to see the second one. It could be a mixture of a lot of that stuff. So I'm very, very happy to see that, and it's definitely going to be, and it's definitely going to remain in the #1 spot by the end of this upcoming weekend, because there isn't really any major competition coming out for it. So, I think the next big movie that's going to definitely be big, obviously, is going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, she's furious, and I think Warner Brothers is also furious that Mad Max Furiosa didn't do well. Maxine's coming out soon, yeah. So I also need to catch up on that franchise because X I thought was a very good movie. I was surprised on how much I liked that movie a lot. I haven't had a chance to see Pearl yet, but I heard Pearl was also good. This new one looks really good. I love the premise behind it all. I also love the fact that and I'm a sucker for the 80s, so I love that we're going to be in the 80s with this character. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I just heard something strange. Hold on. maybe because the spider has been haunting me, that I'm starting to hear things. I don't know. Maybe Suck decided to go from Germany and come to New York to visit me. He's trying to knock on my door. I don't know. I thought I heard something rumbling, but everything's fine. Pearl is like American Gothic. Bro, Star-Lord, he heard something strange. Paranormal. Maybe. Maybe it's just one of those days. Maybe it's just one of those days. And I think maybe the spider was like an omen. What's going on, Barack? You now Nero. Okay. I don't know what you're saying, but thank you for the chat. Robert De Niro? I know Robert De Niro. I'm not Robert De Niro, but I know him. I think Barack's just having some fun in the chat. But at least the chat's working for some people, so that's good. That's good to see. Star-Lord, I've seen enough pearls with Batman's parents dying. Very well done. Very well done. Hashtag Martha. Why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name? All right. By the way, I wanted to share this with all of you because it got me excited. Doesn't mean anything right now, but in a very Jordan Peele-like way, he posted basically just a date. 10/23/26, and that's basically the date of when his next movie is coming out. Don't know what it is yet, but it's awesome to see that he is kind of teasing us as when to expect the next Jordan Peele production, and I'm excited. I'm always excited with anything Jordan Peele related. He's definitely one of my favorite current directors right now, so looking forward to that. Also, yeah, very mysterious. I kind of retweeted this, and I said, if you use your phone to decipher this, it comes up saying bean or beam, which means absolutely nothing. So, because if you use the letters on your phone, to kind of pull up the letters. So yeah, you have that. Unfortunate news about another developer closing up, and that is the Alone in the Dark developers, Pieces Interactive. A long list of other developers who are being shut down, and it doesn't help that they're part of the Embracer Group, because Embracer Group has just been going through all of these people, but mainly because Alone in the Dark didn't meet expectations. So that's unfortunate. Well, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's kind of true. I haven't heard, when that game came out, I didn't hear anyone really talk about it. No one I knew played it. No one I knew mentioned it. So I felt like a lot of people really didn't care much about that game. Crazy. Crazy when you think about it. So it must be a movie that will change the game in Hollywood forever. We'll see. We'll see. Scorch You Peele style has become so ubiquitous. Studios want other directors to straight up bite his style. I know. He's definitely become... He is, I've said this about him before. He's definitely more like the Hitchcock of our generation. Like a modern day Hitchcock, and I think that's great. Watch out, Avengers Endgame. There's a new movie in town. In other movie-related news, I thought this one was really interesting because I saved it. And this, again, goes back to my biggest problem with Hollywood right now, and that is budgets. So, when Mission Impossible 7 came out, and when they were saying that it was going to be split into 2 parts, I thought, okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And then when it came out, it didn't really make waves like I thought it would. And I know Mission Impossible is a very beloved franchise. I love all the Mission Impossible movies. I think they're brilliant movies. And I thought this last movie we got was definitely one of the better ones. They keep pushing the envelope when it comes to all the action stunts, when it comes to a lot of the fights, when it comes to a lot of the heists and the things they have to do. But at the end of the day, it's basically, it's a setup movie. I think it's safe to say that you could tell that they're building up to something, which is not a problem. But when you leave audiences kind of wondering, okay, well, if that's it, what's coming next? I can understand the frustration and all that. And then they said, you know what? We're making part 2 its own movie. So no longer is it going to be a part 2 of this, right? Yeah, AKB. Part 7 came out last year or 2 years ago or something like that. So now it's going to be its own movie. It's no longer a part 2. But then they've been having a lot of problems with the production. Obviously, the writers and actors strike hurt a little bit. They had a malfunction with a real submarine that they were using for this movie, that they had to kind of rebuild it or repair it or something. And just having a lot of bad luck. What's going on, Stitch Edits? English or Spanish? Well, I speak English. I know a little bit of Spanish. What is the question? That's what I want to know. But now it's being reported that because of all these problems, that Mission Impossible 8 is now costing over $300 million. Blech. What is happening? Why? And like I said, this is one of the major problems with Hollywood right now, and it's just budget. Wait. If part 2 is not going to be part 2, what happened to the second half of part 1? No, this is still going to be a second half of part 1. But marketing-wise, they thought it'd be better to not call it part 2 or of the last movie. They want it to be its own standalone movie. So think of it as just a sequel instead of a 6-hour-long movie that was cut into 2. They're basically just treating it like it's a sequel movie, like that. It's all how they market it. It's all how they're putting the narrative out there. And maybe they spent that much money on just Tom Cruise running. So Hollywood should make some good low-budget horrors. Well, they should take pages out of A24 and Blumhouse for sure. Because that formula works very well. But here we go. Late last month came word that the British tabloids that Christopher McQuarrie's 8th Mission Impossible film hit delays again due to a malfunction of a $25 million submarine being used for scenes. That came on top of a 9-month delay to the strikes. The project had only just begun filming again in March, and so further pushbacks have sent costs rising. Just how much? That time came one suggestion that the expenses were ballooning nearly $400 million, but that doesn't seem to be quite the case. New report at Puck News via World of Real indicates that production costs of the movie is running well over $300 million at this point, and that's before factoring in the recent delays. The film is expected to continue to shoot well into the summer and potentially into the fall. McQuarrie previously indicated that they had filmed 40% of the movie prior to the strikes, including all of the Africa and Arctic shooting. So that's another thing about this franchise too, and why the budgets are so high. They love filming on location, which I give them credit for. Give it authenticity and all. So I have no problem with that. I think it's just everything else that is just really ridiculous. How much of the film is shot at present isn't clear, nor is how much the production will get back in rebates for doing much of its filming in the UK. And if you don't know, the UK has probably one of the more generous tax rebates when it comes to filming over there. So you do see, that's why you see a lot of productions in and around the UK. For now, it's still on track for a May 23rd, 2025 release, and a new title in place of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2 has yet to be announced. It comes after Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 grossed just $567 million worldwide last year, the film losing Paramount at least $100 million in its theatrical run. So there you go. So if you combine this with Gladiator sequel reportedly ending up costing $310 million. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know Gladiator was costing that much money. That's insane. Why? Why does a sequel to Gladiator cost $310 million? Oh my God. Paramount is obviously hoping people will get back out to the cinemas for these films. Well, if you're hoping that to recuperate a lot of the money you spent on it, then good luck, because that is just not how you do it. Not anymore, at least. That is way too much money. Way too much money. Unbelievable. Tom Cruise never does remakes. I would like to see reprise roles. Well, yeah, like remakes, sequels outside of, what's this, Mission Impossible, right? And I agree with AKB, who really wanted a Gladiator sequel. Outside of maybe Ridley Scott wanting to do it, right? I mean, the first one was a perfect standalone. Just the way it is. You don't need anything else outside of that. So our Q&A, what movie would you like to see Tom Cruise reprise a role in? I would love to see him revisit Live, Die, Repeat. Is it Live, Die, Repeat? It went by another name too. Edge of Tomorrow. I think that movie would, like a sequel to that would be brilliant, honestly. Outside of that, what other role? Well, we already seen him do a sequel to Top Gun, which worked out very well. What about everyone else watching? What role would you love to see Tom Cruise reprise? Now, are you asking out of the movies he's done or any movie that's been done? You know what would be a fun one? They'll never do this, but I think this would be a fun one. I would love to see them revisit Risky Business. I want to know what happened to that kid when he grew up. I would love to see what happened to that kid when he grew up. AKB, heard that Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow ending in the theater that everyone saw isn't the original ending that was penned. Yeah, I don't know the details or specifics behind it. It was an adaptation of a manga, I believe, and I think they had a different ending originally. But at the same time, I'm not surprised. That happens quite a lot with movies that they adapt from things. I just don't know what the original ending was. But yeah, I believe you're right on that. Starred saying Interview with a Vampire. That would be interesting. Would you bring back Brad Pitt? Scorch saying Legend. Legend would be an interesting one. Dude, I know I started the stream talking about Lord of the Rings, but I do wonder if sword and sorcery movies will still bring people to watch movies in the theater. Because Legend is such like a classic sword and sorcery type of film. You know? I wonder. But yeah, I think Risky Business would be hilarious if they did like a sequel to that. Riskier Business. What? That sounds kind of stupid. Welcome to Riskier Business. Where this time he has a brothel. Yes, Highlander is very sword and sorcery. Aren't they doing a remake of that? I think they're making a new one. It left us with wanting more. Are you talking about Interview with the Vampire? Because I agree. I always thought they were going to do a sequel to that movie, like a proper sequel, not what they came out with. Was that Rihanna was in it? Not Rihanna. Sorry. Alicia. Wait, the singer that passed away, Aaliyah. Like the Queen of the Damned. I thought that was, just not that great, honestly. My hot take: only if there's sex and gore for sword and sorcery. Game of Thrones, Dragons doing well, but Lord of the Rings and Willow TV series did not. Yeah, I half agree with you. If it's sword and sorcery on TV, yeah, the more gore and sex you have, the more appealing it may be to audiences. The classic form of sword and sorcery, like your Willows and your Lord of the Rings, may not do so hot on TV, but may still do well in big theatrical movies. But I also think it has to do with the writing, and it has to do with takes, like new takes, fresh takes, you know? Because if you think about it, Rings of Power, very much to like what you said about Gladiator, no one really asked for that. You know? Like, what is it really based off of? Little excerpts from The Silmarillion? No one really asked for a prequel that dove into Galadriel's backstory. And I think that's one of the things that really hurt that show. No one cared about it. And Willow is such an old, forgotten property from the 80s that the younger generation couldn't care less about it. You know, they really... It's like Goonies. If you were to bring back Goonies today, who would go out there and watch it? People like you and I, right? Our generation. You think the young kids would watch it? Blake, my friend, said when he saw Goonies 3 years ago for the first time, he didn't get it. He said it was boring. But I get it, because that's such a product of the period. Jack Black as the Gladiator. Where he's just going around killing people, saying skadoosh every time. Skadoosh! Eat my sword! Skadoosh! Bibbidi up with the Bing, I'm gonna kill you. Now, if there was a sequel for Jack Black, I wish, they'll never do this, but I would love to see a follow-up to Nacho Libre. For me, that's definitely one of my guilty pleasure movies. I love Nacho Libre. I would love to see him do a follow-up. This time he comes to the States, and he wrestles in the States. Because I could see it now. His church sends him on a mission to the United States to spread the gospel of the Lord. And he finds that there's a bigger wrestling scene in the States, and he tries to be a part of it to raise money for the mission that he's going through. Nacho Libre 2, even cheesier. More nacho for your Libre.
Yeah!
How's the chat acting now, guys? Is it behaving? Is it behaving much better than it did before? times it's almost 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. Not bad. Saying it's Star-Lord. Okay. What's going on, Olivier? Is it Olivier? Oh, he just retracted his message. But he was asking, what is this stream about? Basically, this is a stream where we talk about movies, pop culture, all that stuff. Today's topics, main topics, were weekend box office, talking about Inside Out 2, how well it performed. Second main topic was House of the Dragon premiere. And we were talking about, I gave my thoughts and review of the first episode. And now we're just kind of chatting and talking about the latest headlines in pop culture news, movie-related news, TV-related news, and all that. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your chat. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day, evening, wherever you're from. Animation's on fire. Hello. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for your chat. If you have any topics about movies, news that you'd like to discuss real quick, let me know in the comments. AKB saying the chat's is not 100%, but okay. All right. I'll take that over what was happening before. I can't believe that the chats were just not working. That sucks. Olivier saying I removed my comment because I stay stealth. Okay, no problems. I always appreciate the comments, but if you just want to like just hang out and watch, by all means. Speaking of headlines, Starlord, we know your thoughts on pop culture is very riveting, and I'm not even joking about that. AKB got to run. It's 5 p.m. Oh shoot, I didn't even know it's 5 p.m. AKB, always pleasure having you here. See you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day. Did you see the Sexy Beast actor? He came out about Black Widow. He didn't want to do reshoots. Flat out refused, but contractually obligated. Really? Which actor is that? Sexy Beast actor? Who is the Sexy Beast? Olivia, I do like Lego. I like Lego a lot. I just never have the time to put them together. But I do like Legos quite a bit. What about you? Are you happy or excited about any Lego set that you may have just picked up or that you're looking forward to getting soon? The one Lego set I would love to get right now, if I had the time and if I had enough money for it, is basically the whole Batman animated Gotham City skyline set. I don't know if you've seen it, but you could build a nice skyline reproduction of the Batman animated series, the Gotham City skyline. And that looks like it would be not only fun to put together, but it will be amazing to hang on your wall. I would love to do that. Sexy Beast, the Gentleman, legendary legend of an actor. Let me look this up. I'm very curious what this means. It's almost as sad as how they did my man William Hurt. Sexy Beast. Black Widow. Oh, here we go. You're talking about Ray Winston. Right? Because Ray Winston passed away, right? Or is he still around? Oh no, he's still alive. So he refused to do reshoots. Well, he definitely he. First of all, I love this actor. This actor is fantastic. He's a great character actor. I'm sure he's very much like an old school type of actor. And he probably couldn't care less about these superhero blockbuster movies. It's a paycheck, right? So, and what they did with William Hurt, I definitely do. I know where you're coming from with that. But I guess it's because if they needed the character, they still need Ross in the series, right? And that's why they had to go with Harrison Ford for that role. But T'Challa, they dedicated a whole movie to. They wanted to change his performance completely. I feel like the Black Widow movie was just really messy to begin with. At least that's what it kind of sounds like to me. First of all, it came out at a wrong time. I feel like that movie was way too late. That movie should have came out 5 years prior. 5 years prior to the events that happened in Avengers Endgame. Olivier say, I want my train to become a real Lego set. Like your local train or your favorite train? What is your favorite movie ever? That's hard to say. I have so many favorites. I would say my top 4 favorites as of today, they change all the time, but it's Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, The Crow, Lost in Translation, and probably I would put in there Clue, the movie Clue, the comedy Clue. I love that movie. What about you, Olivier? Let us know what your top 4 favorites are. True, Hulk is more important than William Hurt. Harrison Ford is now as old as Ford. But I'm done. If he came with wheels, he could be in a car museum. He belongs in a museum. Yeah, it is true. It's sad to think about too. Like we're getting to that point where a lot of people that we idolized or that we grew up watching, they are starting to pass away. And Harrison Ford is definitely getting up there in age. A Star-Lord quippy. Is that where we're gonna? Anytime Star-Lord has a take, that's what we're gonna call it. This is his quip of the day. Star-Lord, and we love you for it. We love how random you can get. Well, at least I do, and I'm not afraid to admit it. So. All right, since it is getting kind of late, I'll stay on for like another 10 minutes, but I am very excited. Well, let me rephrase. I'm very curious as to what's going to be revealed at Nintendo's Direct tomorrow. So who here is excited for Nintendo news tomorrow? Olivier, no need to apologize. Thank you for chiming in and chatting. Appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully I can see you again some other time. Armie Hammer. What about him? Oh, I just read it. I read a headline today. Isn't he saying now that he's kind of proud about the whole revelation of his background and his cannibalism stuff? Like he's kind of happy that that's all out in the open now? He's like, the cannibalism accusations are ridiculous. Here, let's read this, because I did find this like very interesting when I read this earlier. Again, I just read the headline, I should say. Let's see here. Because, like, the whole thing, like, who here saw that documentary, House of Hammer? Because after watching House of Hammer, you're just like, man, this whole family is pretty messed up. Here we go. LA Times. And I'll share this with all of you here so you can see what I'm looking at. As soon as I could close this ad down. Jeez. What's going on, Fan? I love your name, Fanimator 101. Huge animation fan, and loved Inside Out 2. So did I. I thought Inside Out 2 was brilliant. Definitely very emotional, very great message. I think it's a must-watch for kids and adults. And it may even be better than the first one. Really, really love it myself. Stoller, I just seen a documentary of the survivors of a plane crash that survived by cannibalism. Oh, is that the one with the... whatchamacallit? Is that the documentary about this happened in South America or something like that? Is that what the movie is based on? I'm curious. So here, an introspective Armie Hammer laughed about the cannibalism allegations that were leveled against him during his precipitous fall from grace after he faced a brutalizing series of sexual misconduct allegations. The Call Me By Your Name star on Sunday addressed his downfall, some of the outlandish accusations he faced, and how the latest happy and well-balanced version of himself is grateful for everything that came his way. Citing 3.5 years of painful lessons about acceptance and having to deal with his issues without causing more wreckage, Hammer explained that his exile from Hollywood has allowed him to get sober, work on himself, mend his relationship with his ailing father, and grow closer to his kids, of whom he lost partial custody during the sex scandal and his 2020 divorce from Elizabeth Chambers. Man. All right, here's a quote here. There were things that people were saying about me that felt so outlandish, that I was a cannibal. Now I'm able to look at it with a sense of distance and perspective and be like, that's hilarious. Hammer 37 said Sunday on his friend Tyler Ramsey's Painful Lessons podcast. People called me a cannibal and everyone believed them. They're like, yep, that guy ate people. Like, what? What are you talking about? Do you know what you have to do to be a cannibal? You have to eat people. How am I going to be a cannibal? It was bizarre. But The Social Network and Man from Uncle Star said that he is now grateful for every single bit of it. He was also the star of The Lone Ranger, which was probably one of the biggest flops ever. Anyway, I'm actually now at a place where I'm really grateful for it, because where I was in my life before all of that stuff happened to me, I didn't feel good. I never felt satisfied. I never had enough. I never was in a place where I was happy with myself, where I had self-esteem. I never knew how to give myself love. I never knew how to give myself validation. But I had this job where I was able to get it from so many people that I never had to learn how to give it to myself. There he is right there, speaking on the podcast, I'm assuming. If ever he was feeling bad about himself, Hammer said that he would go on Instagram and look at the comments on a selfie that he posted, and that would make him feel good. Some of the allegations, including alleged text messages or voice notes delineating fantasies about him drinking blood, sexual domination, and cannibalism, surfaced on the social media platform, with the stories eventually snowballing into a rape accusation and allegations that he coerced others to engage in aggressive sexual activities. Hammer has denied any non-consensual sexual activity, and the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office said last year they would not press charges against him. Quote, no matter how much compliments, no matter how much adoration, whatever people were throwing my way, as soon as it went past the event horizon and into me, it was a black hole where it just disappeared. Nothing stuck, and I didn't feel good about myself. Hammer said on the podcast, but I had this tap that I could turn and get all of that, and what the tap ran dry. It didn't just run dry, it started running with hate and global scale. It was crisis, a spiritual crisis, and emotional crisis. Look, all right, I don't need to read the rest of this article. Basically, what's happening here is that you had... What's going on, Chad? Okay, I want to make sure I say your name right. Well, I'll say Jitta. What's up, Jitta? Have you watched the Indian movie Triple R? Yes, I have. I saw it, made a big review about it on the channel, loved it, thought it was one of the best action films of that year. Really, really loved that movie. That was a situation that demanded for it, for survival. Yeah, I mean, look, here's a guy who is very privileged. He comes from a very rich, royal-like family who had a lot of hands in a lot of businesses in the United States. And I feel like anyone who tries to be an actor, they do look for validation. They do look for some sort of acknowledgement in a certain way. And this guy was getting everything because he's a good-looking guy. You know, he starred in Call Me By Your Name, which got him a lot of acclaim, a lot of praise. He was starting to become one of the main it guys in Hollywood. Then he had flop after flop for a while. You know, Lone Ranger, Man from U.N.C.L.E., movies that didn't do well at all. You know, and his popularity started dipping because he wasn't a viable commodity, really. You know, he wasn't bringing numbers. So, you know, I guess you add that in with the Hollywood elite, or at least the things that you partake in when you're in Hollywood, when you're in the industry. He got in way over his head. I'm sure he has kinks and all that. I never thought he was a cannibalist. I never thought he was into cannibalism, but he definitely has kinks, right? And he tried to be different, and he tried to be out there. And I'm sure you add that with drugs and drinking, it became worse. And it is what it is, you know? And he fell out of favor very quickly. Yeah, he did some acting gigs here and there, but again, nothing was ever at the level as Call Me By Your Name. He was even in one of those Agatha Christie movies, the Nile, which was awful. Awful. And his performance wasn't that great, you know? So he's just, you know, if he's finding peace with himself and he's finding comfort in himself again, good for him. But I don't want to hear anything about him struggling and, oh, if I wanted to feel good, I go to Instagram to read the comments and blah, blah, blah. The guy definitely has some issues. But like I said, if you watch that documentary, that whole family is bizarre and troublesome. So I'm not surprised that someone from a family like that would eventually have the huge amount of issues that he has, which leads to unfortunate behavior, you know, weird kinks and all that stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. So I don't feel bad for him. You know, he can say what he has to say right now, but yeah, he's definitely one of those people in Hollywood that it's okay the less we see of them at this point. You know? All right, everyone. If you have any last things you'd like to talk about or say before I head out. Jitta says, what is the worst movie you have ever seen? Ooh, that's a good one. Worst movie I have ever seen. Huh. I mean, I've seen some bad movies, for sure. Oh man, that's a tough. I'm gonna ask the same question to people in the chat too. Let us know what is like the worst movie you've ever seen. For me, worst movie. You know what? I'm going to go to my Letterboxd account. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd, just look for the LOWKEY Geek, and you can find me on Letterboxd. That's where I log all the movies that I watch every week. But let me see what movie I've given the lowest rating recently. Let's see. Okay. Going here. Going to my diary. And let's see here. Rating. I can't, it won't let me. Oh, here we go. Let's see. All right. So, in recent years, one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Oh, this is a good example. There's a movie called Aggro Drift. Aggro Drift is a very unique movie. It's hard to explain what the movie is, but think of it like an elongated music video that was turned into a movie. It's done in very infrared, weird type of film filtering. You have an annoying narrator who is like the main character, who just drabbles on and on and on about stuff that doesn't make any sense. It's trying to be a futuristic, very like gangster or action type of film. You have women, or at least a girl or love interest, that all they do is twerk on screen. Doesn't really do anything. And Travis Cole's in the movie. He shows up in the movie for no reason. You have people with guns, but there are not a lot of gunfights. People that are flexing their wealth. It's a music video. And it was just one of the worst things I've ever watched. I watched it during New York Film Festival last year because it had a lot of buzz going into it from previous festivals. And I heard that the director is kind of like a troll. So I felt like he did this on purpose to be kind of trolly in a way. But it is just unbearable. It's unwatchable. It really is unwatchable. And I gave it 2 stars. I should have gave it 1 star, but I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd. And I think I gave it 2 because I tried to give it a little extra just to kind of say, like, I kind of appreciate what he was trying to do with this movie, but it just didn't land for me. What about you, Jida? What was your worst movie? Killing of a Sacred Deer. Interesting. I actually kind of like that movie. Stollard said, I've seen a lot of deplorable stuff. Can't say that they're movies, though. Inherent Vice. I hear a lot of people have said Inherent Vice is bad. Fargo season 3 was ass. I'm sure I've seen worse, but those are my top 3. Okay. Yeah, movies are always subjective. What people may not like, other people's may like. So, very true. Arnold, what's going on, Arnold? Nice to see you here. Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a great weekend, and I hope your week is starting off well. What did I think of House of Dragons? I thought the first episode was good. It's a nice way to kind of ease back into the universe. I like how it really picks up directly from, because the first season, one thing I failed to mention, the first season had so many time jumps. I like that this one really picked up directly from where we left off in the first season. And I like the implications of what we're expecting to see for this season. It's going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of infighting. And it gave us stuff that we look forward to in Game of Thrones, right? A very brutal death in this one. Very disturbing type of death. You got love affair is happening and a lot of dragons and this and that. So I liked it. And it was like a nice welcome back to the world. This is kind of what we're hinting at. Get ready. So I kind of like that episode for that. What about you, Arnold? Did you have a chance to watch it? Have you seen Story of Ricky? I've seen parts of it. I think I actually own it on DVD. I've always been meaning to sit down and really watch it for the first time, but I heard it's bad, but like you said, in a good way. Kind of like The Room. Like The Room is an awful movie, but I love watching it because it's hilarious. You know, it's just so silly. Faces of Death. I saw that. I saw that because my brother rented it and I watched it with him. Very interesting. Interesting documentary. Jada says their worst movie is Black Widow. I didn't mind Black Widow so much. There are parts of it I do like. But at the same time, you can kind of tell that was the start of the decline of Marvel for now. You could kind of tell. Arnold, at the point in the episode where she finds the remains of the dragon and her son, I thought briefly, wow, imagine she finds his right. That was a very powerful scene. Very, very powerful scene. And obviously it fueled her anger, right? Seeing all that. One YouTuber, which I watched just for further explanation, made a good point that it's interesting that she had that reaction, but in a public setting. And they're wondering if this could lead to public backlash on her as a ruler, that she has weakness. So I really, really wonder how that may come back to bite her at the end of it. Wow, look at that. Arnold loves House of Dragons so much that he got a tattoo. Awesome. What kind of tattoo is it? So it is banned on television. Yeah. Street beatdown so bad it would make Rodney King look like Disneyland. Immortal's Restaurant Murders is another one like Ricky. Oh, that's not, I never heard of that one. What country is that movie from? Because Ricky is like an Asian movie, right? If I remember correctly. That's why I can't name bad movies I've never seen. It's a smoldering and outside is a dragon wrapped around the sword. Oh, that sounds pretty awesome. That sounds really awesome, Arnold. You know, what happens if Keanu Reeves cast in Mission Impossible franchise? I don't think that'll ever happen because he's, in a way, he's kind of doing his own action franchise, and that's John Wick, if he decides to continue with it. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. Because the thing is, with Mission Impossible, you need to be able to have that same kind of charm like a Tom Cruise has that can carry dialogue. And Keanu can't. You know, that's the thing. Keanu is not good for dialogue. He's good for action and quick, like, little comments here and there. But to have conversations, I can't personally imagine. I can't imagine seeing Keanu Reeves in a Mission Impossible movie. Yes, I do have Instagram. If you just look up the LOWKEY GEEK, or I think it's _LOWKEY_GEEK, you could find the Instagram account there. Or there's a link in the description of the video of my Instagram. All right, Star-Lord is now going through his history of watching very taboo subject matter. Can I watch the trailer? I would love to, but because of copyright, at least on the live stream, it might not be a good idea. So Keanu was so bad in Dracula. He was famously bad in Dracula. He was bad. Winona Ryder was bad. The only one that was acting circles around them was Gary Oldman, and rightfully so. Even Anthony Hopkins was bad. He was like overacting in that movie. But there's something about that movie that it has a certain charm that I actually really like it. There's just something about it that I really like. I just watched it recently, like maybe a month ago. And Francis Ford Coppola does some interesting stuff in it, you know, that maybe you may have missed the first time you watch it. It was very interesting in the way that he filmed it, in a lot of the things that he did, like visual effects wise. It's very, like, just watching it in a cinematic way, in a cinematic lens. It's just really interesting to see what he did with that movie. And I think because of that, I've learned to appreciate it. But it's still, the acting is still probably the worst part about the whole thing. All this special effects are in camera. Yeah. He definitely did like a throwback to like the black and white monster type movies when he did that. So yeah, that's why I'm very curious what Megalopolis is going to be like. And I just heard today that it looks like they're going to release that in September. You know, that's been his mega opus that he's been working on for so many years. So I'm very curious as to how that's going to turn out. Oh, thanks for the follow, guys. I see Arnold and Jada has followed me on Instagram. And you posted that too. Awesome. I'll check it out afterwards. Thank you. What's my opinion on Indian movies? I think they're good. I think that cinema from other countries, there's a lot of great cinema and films from other countries. It's just unfortunate that US audiences, we don't get a chance to see a lot of them. When RRR came out, I noticed that there was a surgence of Indian movies that were releasing here in the States. But because of lack of marketing, a lot of people were not made aware of a lot of these films. But I can easily say that also, if you look at cinema from like Finland, Japan, China, Korea, Norway, you know, UK, there's so many great films coming out of these countries. And I'm a fan of just movies in general. So there are a lot of movies that I would love to see when I have the chance to. There's a new Indian action movie coming out that's supposed to be the most violent action movie out of India. So I'm so curious to see that movie and see what that movie's about. But I like Indian movies. All the Indian movies that I've seen so far, I really enjoyed. But it's not a lot. It's a very small sample of what I had a chance to see. Stallard saying, only bad movies I heard about, like Garbage Pail Kids. Oh my God, that is a really bad movie. I remember seeing that in the theater because I was of age. I was like, oh, they made a movie about Garbage Pail Kids. And I'm just like, what is this? This is horrible. Another one like that is Masters of the Universe. And oh my God, there's one where like Invaders from Mars or something like that. That was so bad. Heard about a movie so boring. It's about a wall and zooming in on slowly for 2 hours. What movie is that? Let me know the name of it. I would love to check that out. Have you seen the new Bad Boys? I have, Arnold. Yes. I gave a review on it in a stream before. I need to start clipping out my reviews so that I can post them on the channel. But briefly, I thought it was surprisingly good. I wasn't sure I was going to like this movie. I really liked it. Very well done. The chemistry is still there. I didn't like the way they were acting in the last one. They totally changed things in this one. The action and camera work was very new and refreshing. I really was thoroughly entertained, and I really enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to either, so I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. Scorch, I've seen a few Indian movies, commercial stuff, so it's trash. Art house stuff is decent from what I've seen. Scorch, did you see RRR? Masters of the Universe is entertaining, at least. You know, I haven't seen it in a very long time, so I don't know if I can agree with that right now. It was a movie. It was definitely a movie. Scorch, you should see RRR. That is probably one of the best Indian movies, action movies that I've seen in recent years. Highly recommend it. It's on Netflix, I think. I think you could watch it on Netflix if you have Netflix. Arnold, are you a fan of the Bad Boys franchise? Jada says a sci-fi movie is also coming from India called Kalki 2898 AD, which is biggest budget movie in India till now. Really? When is that coming out? That sounds fascinating to me. Because I thought, wasn't RRR the biggest budgeted movie for when that came out? So I'm guessing this is taking over that, right? I also love that there are 2 types of cinema from India, right? There's Bollywood, and then there's another thing. Excuse me if I'm not remembering correctly, but they're looked upon as very different styles of movie making. Maybe Jida can chime in. Avatar: The Last Airbender. You mean the M. Night Shyamalan one? I haven't seen it yet. Necromantic is another bad movie. I've heard of that movie. Dragon Ball Evolution is just... For anyone who doesn't know, Dragon Ball Evolution is the reason why Star-Lord 7 doesn't go back to theaters anymore. That is the main reason. That was the last movie that Star-Lord saw in the movie theaters, and he is scarred for life. Scorch, I did see that. I did see that the director came out and apologized for that. Jada says that sci-fi movie is coming out the 27th of this month. Oh, interesting. Okay. I wonder when it's going to come out here in the States. Arnold, you watched The Prince of Bel-Air 8 times? All the way through? Wow. You're a big fan of Will Smith, then. Exorcist Believer, I heard was really bad, that it's an inversion. Yeah, I heard a lot of people really hated that movie. Have you seen The Stone Age? One of my top 4 movies for sure. Stone Age. Which one is that one? Let me see. Stone Age. Oh, I've heard of this movie. I've never seen it, but I've heard of this movie. Yeah, this came out in the 90s. I've never seen it. What is it about the movie that you love so much? That made it like one of your favorites? An Unpregnant, I heard was bad. Don't watch it. Unpregnant? Never heard of this movie. 17-year-old. This came out in 2020. Oh, Breckin Meyer is in this movie? Oh, and Giancarlo Esposito? Oh, Haley Lou Richardson. I don't know. 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Was it really that bad? Pro-abortion propaganda movie? Well, I guess it depends on how you look at that kind of stuff. That and Sexy Beast, Guest House Paradiso. Kevin and Perry Go Large are top 4. Stone Age is famously better than Dazed and Confused. It's like one of those chill out movies. Speaking of chill out movies, one of my favorite chill out type of movies is Half Baked. I love Half Baked. I remember going to the theater to watch that on a whim, just out of nowhere, because me and my friends were just hanging out. Hey, let's go watch this movie. And we were laughing our asses off. It's just so stupid. The only film I don't really like about Will Smith is After Earth. Oh, I think a lot of people would agree with you there. That was during the bad M. Night Shyamalan years. Especially since they had to cast his son in it too, Jaden, who just shouldn't do anything. No, for real, it's been reviewed by Michael Knowles. Who's that? Is that like a big pro-right reviewer? Jaden Son Goku is decent. I mean, I'll take your word for it. I'll never listen to it. I tend to just hate whenever parents push their kids into the industry. It's just, yeah, like when Willow came out with the whip your hair back and forth. Yeah, it's a nice little meme-like song, but I'm just like, really? You're gonna do this? So every time Jaden pops up, like especially like in a commercial, he does a lot of commercials now. I'm just like, get out of here. Stop it. Stop forcing these kids down our throats. We don't care who your parents are. Nepotism. Jaden is a philosopher. Really? I don't know. I'll take your word on it. Jada says, same date. You can see Kalki 289880 because this movie is having a global release. Really? You're making me very curious about this movie. Oh, wait a minute. I've seen the movie poster for this. Yes, I am aware that this movie is coming out because I've seen the movie posters at the theater. You're right. It is coming out around the same time. Actually, in New York, it's showing already in some theaters. Well, no, starting Wednesday of next week, it's going to start showing in some theaters. Oh. You know what? I may check it out. I may check it out. Hold on. I want to see that week what movies are coming out that week. It may be like a busy week. Sorry. I love Dragon Ball Z Light of Hope, by the way. His mom is hot, though, or was. Tupac's chick, what's her name? G.I. Jane. You made Jada Pinkett? That's really funny. I know, because you just mentioned the theater, I used to always find it very ridiculous to go to the theater. But since I was at the musical Lion King, I was impressed. You're talking about like Broadway type theater. Lion King, what they were able to do in that production is fantastic. It's an achievement in creativity on how they were able to put a show like that together. I was also very blown away by Wicked. I thought Wicked was so brilliantly done and put together. That type of experience is not really my favorite. But when I do have a chance to go, it's nice to be blown away by that type of production. It's just so good. All right. Ooh, that week. All right. So next week is going to be a very busy week for movies. So You have A Quiet Place Day One that's coming out next week, which I'm very much looking forward to. And I think more nationwide in the States, Kinds of Kindness is also coming out, which is the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie that I can't wait to see because I'm a huge fan of Yorgos Lanthimos. So you have that and that Indian sci-fi movie. Oh, it's going to be like a busy week next week. I'm excited. You guys are going to hear a lot of new reviews next week for sure. Also, by the way, I haven't had this reminder in a while. If you can please hit that like button on the streams, that would be awesome. You guys would be making me extremely happy. She was in this good horror movie. Which movie was Jada in? Wait, wasn't she in one of the Scream movies? Was it Scream or was it I Know What You Did Last Summer? I feel like she was in one of those type of movies. That's right. If you're a fan of Will Smith and you're a fan of me so far, slap that like button like he slapped Chris Rock. Arnold's asking if I like cooking series where people compete against each other. Not currently. Like I don't like any I don't watch any of like the current stuff like the big British Bake Off or anything like that. But back in the day, I was a huge fan of Iron Chef, like the original Japanese Iron Chef. That show for me is just exciting, thrilling. I never thought I would ever get excited on a for a cooking show ever, but I love Iron Chef. The original Iron Chef. I know they made a follow-up to that and then an American version of that. If so, then you have to watch Barbecue Showdown on Netflix. Barbecue Showdown. Okay. Starlord saying he thought he was in a tennis movie again at the Oscars of that year. He pretended that Chris Rock's face was a tennis ball? Arnold, you're enjoying Barbecue Showdown on Netflix? He aced Chris Rock. Well, he definitely did that. Hold on, guys. Just doing my occasional checking of the phone to make sure the world's not burning. Arnold likes BBQ, and this is the only cooking show I think is very cool. Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I might check it out. I did like, not competition-wise, but I did like Chef's Table, but mainly the one they talked about pizza. Because I love pizza, and the Chef's Table, I guess, version where they just visited like pizza places, I thought was very exciting for me personally. Jada, if you want to see a show like Breaking Bad on steroids, please watch Farzi on Prime. It's a highly recommended Indian show. Okay. Let me look it up real quick. Black comedy crime thriller. Interesting. All right. I'll keep that in mind too. I'm so behind on any TV right now, with the exception of Acolyte and House of the Dragon. I have so much catching up to do. Arnold, what kind of pizza? American style rather than original Italian? So on this show, it kind of, I feel like it's a mix because they go to a well-known, well, there's a guy from Brooklyn here in New York who moved or opened up his restaurant in Arizona. And he gets all of his ingredients directly from this place in Brooklyn. So they were following this guy's journey, but then they also followed another guy in Italy who has a pizza place in Italy. So they go everywhere. I feel like it's worldwide. And I remember just being so fascinated by the different styles of pizza, or at least the mindset in making certain styles of pizza. So it was just very, very interesting to me. Yeah, Jada really wants me to watch a lot of this Indian content. Well, Jada, I'll say this: if you want me to watch and review Farsi on this channel, since I am so backed up on things, I think the best way to do that is to send in a super chat for 10 US dollars, and I will promise you that by the end of the week, I will watch this show and I will review it on the channel. Otherwise, it's just going to go in the queue with everything else. Arnold likes New York style pizza. Yeah, hopefully you will have a chance one day to experience New York style pizza in New York, because in my opinion, there's nothing better. But it's funny, even though I was born and raised here in New York, I'm not a huge pizza snob. Like, I appreciate pizza in other locations. Like, I think Japan has very interesting pizza there. Obviously, I had the pizza in Italy when I visited Italy. I thought the pizza there is good, but different. Very, very different. I'm also a huge fan of Chicago style pizza. So I'm not like a snob when it comes to pizza, but I'm not going to be shy and say, I'll be the first to tell you if pizza sucks. And I've had bad pizza. Like, for example, don't ever eat pizza when you're in Florida. The pizza in Florida is horrible. I would never do that ever again. Stollard wants to try the $1 million pizza like Mr. Beast. You know, I've never watched a single Mr. Beast video. I think I tried to watch one once. The one where he created like a bank and people can just go in and get money. I'm just like, I think I'm just too old. Like, all right, I get it. What I do find fascinating about Mr. Beast is that he makes so much money in his videos, but at the same time, every time he makes a new video, he spends almost the same amount of money he makes. So his overall profit is very small. So I find that extremely fascinating about Mr. Beast. And it just kind of gives you an insight of really what YouTubers are like. Star-Lord likes the guys from How Ridiculous. I don't even know who those guys are. Arnold says, I'm a king. In my dreams, I am.
Yeah!
And in the bed. What?
I'm gonna come.
All right, y'all. I think now is a good time to call it for the day. Check them out, man. It's so much fun. All right. What are they called? How Ridiculous? All right. I'll check them out. For you, Star-Lord, I'll check them out. Arnold, I'm just being silly. You know that. But again, another great time here with all of you guys. I will be back early tomorrow as I react to this Nintendo Direct stream that's happening in the morning. So I will be planning to go live around 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So if you're curious to join me and watching what Nintendo has to offer, come on by and let's get nerdy and geeky together. Otherwise, I'll be back again on Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern time, to talk about the latest episode of The Acolyte and all that stuff. I'll make sure to post an update of the schedule on the channel there. But really appreciate all of you guys hanging out here as always. Arnold, you have a wonderful evening too. Thank you again for everything. Star-Lord, you are always very appreciative. Or I should say, I always appreciate you. That's what I mean. I think I know English. Scorched, you're awesome. Nice to have you here as well. Jada, thank you so much again for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Going back down the list of others, AKB, Olivier, Animations on Fire, Burak, My World, Bacon. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Suck, of course. Appreciate you hanging out and not doxing me. Did I say AKB? Yeah, I think I said AKB. Appreciate all of you guys. Hope to see you again soon. Until then, stay cool, stay class, stay safe. I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Bye. Stop it, Star-Lord. I'm grateful.